I'd like to call the Monday, February the 25th, 2019 Blue Springs Planning Commission meeting to order. And if I could ask you to all please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening and also those that are watching. Tonight we have, first item is the consent agenda. Then, by the way, if you'll look at your agenda, we have made a change in respect for scooters so they don't have to wait to the last. We're going to bring them up to item number 2. So we will hear the master alternative sign plan for scooters second. Then we'll go ahead and proceed with the following, with the public hearing on Dervet, the public hearing conditional use permit for Pro Auto Service, the public hearing and rezoning for Northridge, followed by the public hearing amended plan as well as the preliminary plat for Edgewater at Chapman Farms. Okay. Then we'll have other business and adjournment. With that, I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the minutes from February 11th meeting of the Planning Commission be approved as submitted by staff.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. By the way, everyone, there is a parking lot out here where it's not paved by the bank. If you're parked there, you will be towed. If you're parked over there, you need to either park on the one that's paved or across the street. So if you are parked right behind here where it's not paved, where it's not blacktopped, you'll be towed. So I thought I'd let you know in case you need to move your car now. Okay. Now let me go through, since we're going to do scooters first. It's not a public hearing, so it's a preliminary plat. It's a master alternative sign plan for scooters, and we have Brad. It's going to be staff that's going to be presenting that.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Planning Commissioners. Before you tonight is a master sign plan for Scooters Coffee on Woods Chapel Road. It's generally located south of South Outer Road. It's in the outlot of the Kings Ridge Shopping Center. It's currently zoned GB, or General Business District. They are proposing 8 new signs for this new building that they are constructing. They are requesting a master sign plan to allow for wall signs on a facade that doesn't face public right-of-way and doesn't contain the main building entrance. So if we look at the site plan here, first on the west facade, which is this one, they are proposing 1 wall sign that contains the Scooters logo. The south facade, it is this facade that doesn't face the public right-of-way, and it is not the main building entrance, therefore it doesn't meet code, and it contains 3 wall signs, one of which has the channel letters of the business, and it also contains 2 changeable poster mounts that the applicant will change. And then the north facade also has the channel letters, but that has the drive-through, which we're considering the main building entrance since they don't have a customer-facing building entrance. And then, as well as those wall signs, they're proposing directional signage, which meets the sign code. They are proposing a monument sign, which meets the sign code in both size and setback. And they are proposing a changeable menu board, which meets the sign code. All of the wall signage that they're proposing meets the sign code, the size allowance. The only thing that doesn't meet the sign code is the south facade containing wall signage because it doesn't face a public right-of-way and it doesn't contain the main building entrance. However, staff has approved and the Planning Commission has approved multiple master sign plans that have had this exact same situation. So staff finds this application consistent with other approvals, and staff recommends approval of the application with the 2 conditions listed in the staff report. And if there's any questions, I stand for questions.
Is there any questions for staff? Together, no. Thank you very much, Bernard. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hi there. You need me to
No, you don't.
Okay.
Need to. This is just
So-
a name.
Name, Mackenzie. First off, thank you for moving us
What's
up.
your last name?
Oh, Mackenzie Sykes.
Sykes. Thank you.
First off, thank you so much for moving us up. We really appreciate that. Basically, as you can see, we are a drive-through coffee kiosk. When I say we, it's me and my mom. We're the business owners. We're local from the Blue Springs area. We have 2 other locations in operation right now. And for us, basically because we are the kiosk model, that northbound morning traffic on Woods Chapel is huge to the overall success of our business. And this south elevation that we're proposing the alternative to, that's really where people will see what we are. If they don't see that signage, we just look like another little building out there. And especially in the morning when you're on your way to work, you're kind of in the zone. And so if you don't see that, you might pass us by. We believe in building customer relationships, and we have a big impact on this community, and we've given back to the schools and various projects here, and we really feel like this additional signage really allows people to know who we are and what we do and what we stand for. So.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? I figured it was because of the northbound.
Yeah,
But you wanted that
it's
sign.
with that median there. I mean, that's our sole morning traffic, and so that's really important to us.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion for the master alternative sign plan with scooters. There are 2 conditions.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner?
I move that master alternative sign plan ASP 02196790 for Scooters Coffee with the 2 conditions be approved as submitted.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion has carried. All right. Thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to the public hearing, starting with Dervette. And let me give you the instructions. Of course, you saw them earlier, but I'll go over them again on a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing and I'll call for exhibits from our city attorney. The staff will make their presentation. Then I'll call for the applicant to come forward, be sworn in, give their name and address to the court reporter. Then I'll ask for witnesses in favor and witnesses opposed. Now, if you wanted to speak, I'd need to have you fill out one of those forms out there to the left of the door. Then I'll have general discussions, and we'll go ahead and I'll close the public hearing, and the commissioners will vote on the item. So if there's not any further questions, I'm going to open the public hearing for Dervette and ask for the city attorney to read the exhibits.
Madam Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on February 9, 2019. 3, application with attachments. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jury.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Before you today, the applicant is requesting to vacate a street right-of-way for all of Southeast Magellan Drive from its northern boundary with Walnut Street to its terminus, which coincides with the west boundary of lots 7 and 8 of the Walnut Street Development Center subdivision. This right-of-way is approximately located near the intersection of Adamsdale and Walnut, but is between the actual boundaries of lots 1, 7, and 8 of that Walnut Street Development Center subdivision. Currently, this portion of Southeast Magellan acts as a private road for the adjacent properties, since it is a dead-end road, dead ends into the city's public works building there on the west side of that vacation area. There are existing utilities, public utilities, in this right-of-way, so staff does recommend reserving utility easement over the right-of-way. Also, there are private drives that access this right-of-way as well. So staff recommends a cross-access easement to make sure that these private drives that are accessing Magellan, where it currently is, will still have access to Walnut Street in the future, even if this right-of-way is vacated. Also, there is one property that would not have access to a public road if this cross-access easement is not reserved as part of this vacation. The property to the lot 7, I believe, on the south side of Magellan does not have a driveway to 40 Highway, even though it abuts it, and I believe MoDOT would not allow that anyway, since there's already an existing access nearby. But reserving this cross-access easement will allow them to use the vacated right-of-way as a private road and access Walnut Street, which would be their public road access. Either way, Dervet does own Lot 1 where they currently exist, their building exists, and that property that has no access. And they do plan on combining those two as one property. But at this point, staff still does recommend reserving a cross-access easement. Additionally, any private street, the city does require a ingress-egress easement to be in place so that emergency services and city officials can access the property as needed for traffic or emergency purposes. The purpose of this, the applicant does intend to combine lots 1 and 8, their current property and that south property, as one property. Dervet is requesting this vacation in part to obtain additional land for proposed expansion of their current operations. If approved, the vacated right-of-way would be split in half, pretty much from the center line of Magellan, and half would go to the properties on the east or north, and the other half split at the right-of-way would go to the properties to the west and south as well. This vacation would provide Dervet Incorporated with the additional land necessary to expand their current operations as they see fit. Staff believes that the vacation review criteria in the Unified Development Code are met with this application. The appropriate notification process has been met as well, and we recommend approval of the vacation with 5 conditions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward? And if you will, give your name and address to the court reporter right there.
Todd Munsterman. Todd Munsterman, one. I do. Todd Munsterman, president of Dervet Incorporated.
Okay.
As Nathan was saying, we're planning a 54,000 square foot addition to our facility, and we think this will give us the land we need to expand, to give us the flexibility we need with maximizing the footprint of the building, maximizing our parking, because number one, we're out of space with our current facility, so we really need to maximize the space with the building, but also parking for employees, because we're totally out of space for employees, and we plan to add additional employees going forward. And then also truck access. We're a distribution company, so truck access in and out of our parking lot is very critical to us, and just the ability of trucks to maneuver around. We feel this gives us what we need to move forward with this expansion and remain here in Blue Springs, which we greatly want to do. So, any questions for me?
Are there any questions for the applicant?
Not really a question, just a comment. I congratulate you on the success, and I'm very happy that you decided to stay here in Blue Springs and to stay on this site instead of opting to go somewhere else.
We appreciate the city. Nathan and Tom have been fabulous to work with, and appreciate being on the meeting here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone that'd like to speak in favor of the applicant? Anyone that'd like to speak in opposition? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll close the hearing. And I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner.
I move that vacation VAC 02196796 for Dervet be with the 5 conditions be approved as submitted by staff.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Haynes. Okay, that would be a roll call.
Planning Commissioner Veal.
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Casey.
Aye.
Commissioner Graham.
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks.
Aye.
Commissioner Peel.
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Billups.
Aye.
Chairman Banks.
Aye. That motion carried. That will be heard March the 4th at 6 p.m. with the City Council. So our recommendation will go to them. All right, now I'll open the public hearing for conditional use permit with Pro Auto with 5 conditions and ask for the attorney to please read the exhibits.
Madam Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on February 9, 2019. 3, application with attachments. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jury again.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Before you today, Pride Auto Sales is requesting approval of a conditional use permit for a vehicle repair limited, or the mechanical repair of vehicles at a property addressed as 1110 Southwest 28th Street and Suite B of the building thereon. This is approximately located 350 south of eastbound 40 highway, and it's on the east side of Southwest 28th Street. The property's platted. It's about 0.66 acres. Is one lot, zoned light industrial, as you can see here. We currently don't have a business license on record at this site. The applicant's half of the building is vacant and has been as far as we know. They are requesting to approve a conditional use and for the vehicle repair and bring this site hopefully into more conformance with our Unified Development Code UDC standards. The applicant currently operates, Pride Auto currently operates an automotive sales business at 201 Southwest 7 Highway. They intend to use Suite B on the existing building as their mechanical repair facility for vehicles for that Pride Auto Sales business, as well as its customers. Prior to, if approved, prior to construction, building additions or anything, or sign permits, those appropriate permits must be obtained by the applicant. Additionally, a business license would also be required prior to opening for business at this location. Altogether, the use, in order to be approved through this conditional use, must meet the use standards laid out in the UDC. And for vehicle repair limited, there are a few conditions for the use standards. One of them being that a traffic study is required for service stations, which is gas stations that also include once in a while a vehicle repair. But this is not an automotive service gas station for a high volume of users. Public Works standards do not require a traffic study for this proposed use in this situation. Another requirement is that if abutting residential property, it must be fully screened, and the residential property to the east of this property, there's the building screens the majority of the property, and then if this site ever does redevelop city, it's currently Jackson County unincorporated area, but if it does ever develop, a different zoning class would probably be more appropriate rather than the residential use that currently is located on it. And staff believes that the potential use as well as the building screening meets this conditional use requirement. The site, if the applicant needs to provide whether or not they're providing any beverages, video games, or any food consumption for on-premise or off-premise, and they only intend to repair vehicles at the subject site, and once the vehicle repairs are completed, they'll return those vehicles to the retail lot on 7 Highway. The sale of vehicles is not proposed on this property, and limited customer services may be provided on site, such as coffee and light refreshments. Another use standard is for the car wash or vehicle repair limited, and service bays shall not face residential property, and the existing service bays face 28th Street. As you can see in this photo here. As far as conditional use, whenever a building goes through a change of use and it changes more than 25% of the building, or the use is changing more than 25% of the square footage of the building, the entire site needs to be brought into conformance with the development standards, which include parking and landscaping and other site revisions such as those. As far as this development, the parking is provided on the south side of the building. You can see in this picture here, there's 73 feet of linear space, enough to fit 8 parking spaces at 9 feet wide parking space, and their requirement for the Suite B side of things is 6 spaces, so they do meet that requirement. Additionally, bicycle parking is not required because it's based on the number of employees, or 3% of the number of employees, and they don't have enough employees to round up in this instance to 1. So 0 bicycle parking spaces are required in this instance. Staff does recommend that prior to business license approval, the required parking must be striped. Additionally, staff recommends that long-term outdoor storage of vehicles or the use of the property as a storage yard is not allowed on this property, as restricted by the use table in the UDC. I will mention Suite A, the northern half of the building, does, as you can see, does have quite a few outdoor vehicles parked. I've since talked to the tenant that leases that space, and as far as he's told me, he uses the space as his personal storage of boats and his cars as well. And I also mentioned that all the exterior parking should be off the lot. Everything should be either inside or not on the exterior of the property. And he should hopefully comply with that. And I drove by and there was only 3 or 4 vehicles on the exterior at the time that I drove by. As far as landscaping, the property does have several existing large shade trees on the front of the building. And as you can see, there's a 45 inch diameter tree, a 24 inch, and a 30 inch diameter tree along the front. And those three trees all together add up to more plant units than is required by the code. There are no screening of equipment required, as there is no exterior trash enclosure or anything currently, but if the applicant does want to provide an exterior dumpster, then that will need to be screened as well. At this time, they aren't proposing any lighting improvements, so no need for a photometric study or anything like that. But staff does, with all that, I guess staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit with 5 conditions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? I gather not. Thank you very much, Mr. Jury. Would the applicant like to come forward? And if you could be sworn in, please.
I can't. Paul Variano. I do.
Okay, and speak into the mics and spell your last name if you would.
I will. Varriano. It's Irish.
And what was your first name again?
Paul.
Paul. I'll use that one.
Address.
What's your address, please?
My home.
Which one do you want? Either one, officer.
I'll use the lot. It's 201 Southwest 7 Highway, Blue Springs.
Thank you.
Okay. Basically, all we're trying to do is do it the right way.
Thank you.
And with our section of the building, which is half of the building B, we've got the trees are already there. We're gonna make it look better on the outside anyway, because that's just the way we want it to be. We want it to look, have a good eye appeal. And we're just trying to stay in Blue Springs because we needed the space to be able to excel in our business. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. It's cut and dry.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner?
Mr. Variano?
Sir, would you come back forward? We're not done with you. Okay, there's a question by
I'm sorry.
Commissioner. It's all right.
Sir, since you're providing auto service, reverse service, how do you store your fluids?
The fluids, basically, we do a lot of our business as needed, so there's not a whole lot of storage. But when we do, we have a company come out and, extract the oil. They take it away if there is any oil there. We don't keep any like gasoline, things like that. Everything is pretty well taken care of. I mean, we just don't have a whole lot of storage there. I mean, whenever we're repairing something, we're ordering for that vehicle, getting it, putting it in, that kind of thing. So there's not a whole lot of storage.
Okay, second question. How about any rags or cloths that are used?
Yes, we do have those, obviously, and we'll usually take those down and get those laundered and then brought back.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay. I gather there aren't any now. Thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Any further discussion by the commissioners? Okay, I will close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner?
I move that conditional use permit, CUP 01196789 for Pro Auto Service LLC with the 5 conditions be approved as submitted by staff.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner? All right, roll call, please.
Planning Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Casey,
Aye.
Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks, Commissioner Peel,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry, Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Veal, Chairman Banks.
Aye. Excuse me. I'm really sorry. Sometimes my allergies get to me. Okay. That was approved. Excuse me. All right, now we're going to go on to the public hearing, rezoning for Northridge. I'll open the public hearing. Call for city exhibits. From the attorney.
Madam Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on February 9, 2019. 3, application with attachments. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. And 9, Next Door App comments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jury, you're back.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Before you today, a public hearing is being held at the request of the applicant, 1505 Northridge Developers LLC, on behalf of the property owner, Cruisers Optimist Foundation. This request is to rezone from the current GB, or General Business Zoning, to the proposed MF18, or High Density Multifamily Zoning. The property is approximately 2.08 acres. It's addressed at 1501 Northridge Drive, and located on the north side of Northridge Drive and about 500 feet west of 7 Highway. Currently, property is vacant, but it does have the pre-existing foundation and parking lot of the former Comfort Inn, which burnt down in 2012, I believe. The notification, all 3 notification requirements for the city have been met. Public notice was sent to the Examiner and published on February 9th. The applicant installed the public notice sign on the property, and notice letters were sent to all the property owners within 185 feet. As you can see, this is a list of the property owners within 185 feet, and their parcel IDs at least. The addresses we pull from Jackson County as the mailing address of record. The applicant intends to construct a roughly 73,000 square foot building on the property. The applicant was kind enough to provide some preliminary massing of the building, showing a 4-story and 69 unit apartment. This building type is classified as an apartment mid-rise building, and as a apartment mid-rise building, the applicant would still be required to go through plan development approval, which includes concept plan and final plan, as well as a site plan design review approval, which would be heard before the Planning Commission. So staff reviewed this application, and according to the 9 criteria in the UDC, the Unified Development Code for rezoning requests, staff does believe the request meets these criteria, and I'll go through those criteria. First, it must be in accordance with a comprehensive plan. Staff believes the comprehensive plan for this area does designate the area of the city as a neighborhood center. which is typically commercial use but may include residential uses. Staff believes the proposed rezoning meets the intent, and the higher density residential will help support surrounding retail and also serve as a transition zone between more intense commercial uses to the east and the less intense residential uses to the west. Second, it must further the intent of the zoning district. The intent of the MF18 zoning district is to accommodate high-density residential living and also serve as a transition between different intensities of uses. Staff believes this proposal does both. The impact of the character of, or the rezoning must be reviewed on the impact of the character on the character of building form in the area. The current zoning, GB zoning, does allow a 60-foot tall building as a general commercial building. The proposed zoning, MF18, also allows up to a 60-foot tall apartment mid-rise building if the PD plan development is approved. Staff believes the potential building footprint and the site design is not overtly different than what could be allowed in the current GB zoning, what it currently is, as well as the adjacent GB zoning. It's not too far off from what the adjacent GB zoning properties could be developed as. 4, the zoning application must be reviewed in compliance with the UDC. Staff does believe the site can accommodate the necessary UDC requirements. The 5th criteria is based on the ability of the city or other governmental agencies to provide services, facilities, and programs. The required public utilities and streets are nearby and existing, and staff believes that the existing utilities and roads are enough to serve this proposed type of development. The 6th criteria is the effect on property values. Staff believes this will not reduce property values. Zoning change. The 7th criteria is that the zoning change is justified by a change in conditions. In 1976, property was zoned B3, which later became the GB zoning district through a couple UDC amendments later. Since then, many of the surrounding uses have changed, including construction of some of the adjacent residential, as well as some of the adjacent commercial. Today, the property is now within walking distance to a large number of services and amenities, whereas in 1976 it was not. Some of these amenities include the transit stop just across the street to the south, as well as grocery stores, a hardware store, bank, a pharmacy, as well as a few others in the area. Additionally, on January 22nd in 2019, the Blue Springs Community Housing Assessment Team, or CHAT, did a study, and the CHAT study was presented to City Council, and part of that study recommended that to develop a detailed corridor plan for the 7 highway corridor, envisioning these once purely commercial corridors as mixed-use environments. Staff believes that this rezoning will help create a mixed-use environment as recommended by the CHAT study. Additionally, the 8th criteria, consistency of application with other adopted policies. Staff believes this is consistent with city policies. And the 9th is recommendation of city staff. And staff does recommend approval of the rezoning request. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? Commissioner?
Mr. Jury, I was just wondering, I think that we approved last year or so another apartment complex on North Ridge. Is that correct?
On Northridge Drive?
Yes.
Northridge Cottages.
Do you know if there's been any construction on that yet?
They have started construction, and I believe they're pretty well along. It's been a little while since I've driven by, excuse me, but I believe a lot of the building are erected. I'm not sure if they have occupancy on all of them yet, but I believe a lot of them are erected. Yeah.
Could I help you on that? I go by them all the time. They are under construction. It's a road over. Those are the patio homes. That's what we approved. And they are under construction. They're far from being occupied yet. But those are in addition to those other patio homes that are over there. That's not even near this. I mean, it's near, but it's not this.
It's on the opposite
This
side.
is on the opposite road.
I thought it was still on North Ridge, but on the North Outer Road and North Ridge.
This is north of North Ridge.
Okay, this is east of North Ridge.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's right. You're on the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
I'm thinking the way I drive. Okay. Yes, sir. Commissioner.
You maybe think, I think we did approve an actual apartment building on that site, but it's been many years ago, and and then it never came to fruition.
Yeah.
And now this other plan has replaced it. So, but there was a parking or an actual apartment building on that second site that you're talking about back in the early 2000s or something, and it had underground parking and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Yes, because of the influx of people coming into the area and business, and there is a public transit place there, do you think that will reoccur, where the public transit will re-enter that area?
Can you restate that question?
Because of the influx of people coming into the area, and there is a place for public transit, do you think that will reoccur in that area?
I believe that transit stop is currently used. I don't know are you thinking about the one near White Oak that
Yes.
went away? Okay. That one's farther south. I'm not sure if this will have any impact on that one, since this transit stops right across the street. So I'm not entirely sure if it'll impact the South 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other questions for staff? Would the applicant like to come forward? Be sworn in first, please. If you would, whoever's going to speak for name and address.
Sure. Zachary Goff, 601 Northwest Jefferson Street, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64014.
Okay. And?
Levi Messer, same address.
Thank you.
Thank you. As Mr. Jury said, we are applying for a 69-unit apartment complex on this spot. Just a little background on us. We're both local Blue Springs people. I'm a partner in a local law firm here. Levi's construction business is also out of here, and Levi builds these buildings for a living. That's what he does. And so we're very excited to partake in this project and to undertake this in Blue Springs. We really feel like this location was just ideal for a property like this, and to support the seniors and the over 55 living, and the number of over the next 15, 20 years, the baby boomers that this property will attract in the area, keep people in Blue Springs, the communities they're from. We think it's ideal. And we in fact have an extra, our PowerPoint up here, some idea of another building that Levi's company constructed in, well, you can talk more about it. Was this in Gladstone?
Yeah, this project was in Gladstone off of Berry Road. It's independent living, 55 and up, age restricted. So, we're looking to make sure that the exterior cladding, is aesthetically pleasing. Use good quality material. As we're the plan is to build it and and keep it and for ourselves. So, you know, we want it to fit in and to look nice. So.
Okay, do you want to speak?
Do you have a copy of that PowerPoint that we could enter into the record?
Certainly, yeah.
A paper
I can
copy?
email it, yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to hand it to me when you have?
Oh, sorry, I don't have a physical
okay.
copy, sorry. I just have electronic. That's
Electronically, they can
Okay,
email it,
we'll
put it on record that it
we'll
was
put that
presented.
in the record as Exhibit 10. That's the applicant's PowerPoint.
Okay, and if you would send it to Mr. Jerry. Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner?
What price range and what amenities will you offer at this
No,
location?
this is just rezoning.
This is just rezoning?
Just
Okay.
rezoning.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get into that when they bring something else. Any other questions for the,
I was just curious, these photos are of a 3-story building, and I thought you were going to do 4.
We are if you look there is a walk outside on this. So this building kind of fits well with the current lay of the land, because there will be a section that's level or that's a basement section. So if you look, it does drop to 4-story on the right-hand side of the picture, and then it continues around as 4 stories. So this lot's almost kind of like a walkout lot, because the land has a grade to it. So
it's walkout on the east side?
on the west side of the property.
Okay.
Because it's so close to the senior living just around the corner, are you blending the look, or are you trying to do anything like that?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Most of those are stucco, so you know we would try and incorporate
the look.
Yeah, the look.
okay, I do have a question, since it's going to be, we're going to rezone it. On your project description, just like you've talked about this, it's right here, what you filed. It says, will be restricted to individuals aged 55 and over, and then you have the word unless. So unless it drops, then it won't be age restricted. You're saying this one is, that you've got up there, but this one won't be.
Well, that's a typical practice for most of these projects, that after a certain duration of time, if they can't get to 80%, you know, in order to cover debt service, that option becomes available, not the preference, but at the end of the day, we do have to meet certain expectations to be able to cover the debt service on these projects. So we don't, you know, we could certainly give you guys what the unless time period is. I don't have that with me right now, but that's something that we typically do just have to incorporate.
changing, to add on to that, I mean, certainly at the get-go of this project, the occupancy will be 0. We are not going to use that. That would be, you know, this will fill up, we believe, relatively fast and stay full. 80% is a pretty low occupancy rate for an apartment complex like this, so it would have to be dropping pretty quickly. But, you know, there's some changing demographic. You know, this building's going to be built and will be there for a long time unless it falls under the same fate as that hotel that was there before. So, you know, we kind of have to plan for future and perhaps changing situation down the road for whether we still own it in 25 years or somebody else buys it from us. And
I guess that's just my question is with the unless. Because you said something about baby boomers and age restricted, because we're going to have 75.1 million boomers by 2030. So
yes,
we just get increase.
Yes.
So, other questions, Commissioner Billups?
And again, I understand that we're talking about rezoning right now, but I just want to get a feel for your thoughts as far as the amenity level that we're talking about here. And I noticed this looks like it has an underground parking area underneath one side of it. Are you planning any kind of covered parking or anything like that on the site, or, as a benefit to the residents or anything like that?
No covered parking is in the plan right now. As far as the amenities, one reason this site seems so good is because there is a lot of businesses with certain amenities within across the street. So it seemed to us like a good relationship, not only the site for us, but also with the surrounding businesses to increase customer flow in those areas as well. So we will have some amenities, but not as much as we might normally do, so as not to take business away from other businesses in Blue Springs.
I have a question. Can I go back to your unless? I understand what you're saying and why you would put that in there. Your goal is to have 55 and above. But if it gets to a point where you can't occupy the building at 55 and above, you would welcome others in. How long does that typically take for you to decide if it's a comma unless? Is that usually a 5-year process, or are you within a year, if you're not filling it up, you're changing to the unless?
I know the unless is a big topic, but we've never had the unless actually kick in yet, so I can't tell you. I can't tell you what that is.
That's just a standard practice.
It's just a standard practice, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, you can't speak yet, sir. I'll bring you forward. Commissioner Fairbanks.
What about pets? Are you going to allow pets in these units?
Oh, we didn't bring that up yet. I'm sorry, I get excited. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. No other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I will hear anyone that would like to speak in favor of the petition. Having heard none, I have the list of those that would like to speak in opposition, and I'll call your name. If you'll come forward and be sworn in. Jack Maybe. And please get sworn in.
Yes. I do.
Speak your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Jack Maybe. I live at 2111 Northeast Waterfield. Have property at 1725, 1727 Northwest 9th Street. Soon to be moving in to one of those sides. I thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak to the commission. I am in opposition to it. Some of the reasons here are, number one, I'm concerned about the traffic level in that area, the people noise, the headlights shining into the residential area, which is right adjacent to it, engine starting, alarms going off, number one. Number two, we're speaking about 69 units creating additional use of the sewer system. I'm familiar with backup problems and some years of experience with working. Problems with, you have all the dishwashers, the garbage disposals, and washing machines. It is an issue. I've seen this become a big problem in some sanitary sewers, especially on the where I worked on the Johnson County side. Number three, there's always a possibility for overflow with the storm water retention basin. I didn't see any place where they had a stormwater retention pond, where they're going to put one of those in, or if they're going to use some existing retention ponds that are already there. Number four, this has been described as a luxury apartment.
The Northridge Landing developers have stated that they would provide minimal tenant amenities, parking, in-unit laundry, and entertainment rooms. Tenants will use local businesses for fitness, grocery, pharmacy, and public transportation. The KC Metro. This is not luxury apartment living. Most luxury living facilities offer such things as a pool, theater rooms, fitness center, common areas for scheduled activities, outside facilities for picnic areas or walking trails, etc. I perceive this proposal to be nothing more than a building to house the general public, not 55 as stated. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Okay, is it Susie, is it Saunders?
Correct.
Okay.
I do. My name is Susie Saunders. I live at 1702 Northwest 9th Street, right here in Blue Springs. I received a notice describing the building construction and wish to speak against that as well. That would bump her right up against my property, and living within 185 feet of this structure, I have great concern for the amount of pressure that's going to be put in that area. There are some retention ponds for runoff that come back. We see that. We don't want them. I personally would not want that to not be something that you would pay attention to. I also looked at the application that Mr. Goff submitted, and I'm extremely concerned with the word unless. Thank you so much for that. I don't like that word, because then that means that they can change the plan later. And I would very much like to speak that you would address the word unless, so that we do not have to worry about that. Being a 55 and older myself, I also looked into those types of facilities before I moved into my home. And I did move into my home in October of 18. And I chose that location because I felt like it was close to a business corridor, that I could get there. But I also chose it because it was a quiet neighborhood, and there wasn't going to be the pressure of business going up and down 7 Highway. I also looked into other places before I decided to move into my home, and they were 55-plus buildings that offered a lot of amenities. And those amenities Jack spoke about a moment ago, I shared with him. They offered pools, they offered exercise rooms, they offered gathering rooms where tenants 55 and older would generally want to get together. A snack shack of some sort or another was not uncommon for me to see as I went about my search for my forever home. This is not something that seems to be planned for this site, as is in the description for the project. They plan as their amenities that they want us to use is the surrounding community. And I would suggest also that if you were 55 plus, that sometimes crossing that highway, 7 Highway, you'd have to go all the way down to Duncan Road to get across, to walk across, or to take the light that is right there at North Ridge to get across to the other side of the building, which is where, or the other side of the highway, which is where the fitness center is. I would have to agree with Mr. Goff that it is very close to a pharmacy. The bank is right there if you chose that bank, and that they do offer the Price Chopper. But getting to and from, if you are a 55 and older person, there would need to be some sort of transportation to call that a luxury 55 plus building. And I don't see that offered in the plan. The other thing that would concern me is that I know the board approved a 55 plus building. They had that on Adams Dairy, and that building is gorgeous. And I will give Mr. Goff, Mr. Messer their due here. The building looks beautiful. The building that was built on Adams Dairy Road is a facility that does account for assisted living independent living. It also has a memory care wing and offers the amenities one would think that if you were enticing a 55 and older group to come in and be a part of that would be what you would want to see there. They offer transportation as well. My concern is that I know that the transportation that you asked about was the transportation going to be right there. The bus stop is the Metro Park and Ride.
Yes.
But the Park and Ride, I would ask if you are appealing to the 55 and older crowd, the Park and Ride goes to downtown Kansas City. I don't know that it would service our Blue Spring residents with that type of transportation. So those are some of my concerns. I really would like to say I think you understand. I am strongly opposed to this, and especially with the word "unless." I'm not pleased with that word at all. I don't give my kids that opportunity. Unless it usually means something like you're grounded. So.
Can I ask you a question? How
Yes.
long had you lived in Blue Springs before you moved to where you are now?
I did. I lived on the south side of town, out in the back in the Palo Edition. So I was on the south side heading out of town, and decided to come to the north side because of the residents that was there. It was lovely, and the people seemed nice, well kept area.
So you'd known that there had been a hotel there at one time?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Just thought I'd ask. Yes, sir.
I'd like to follow up on what you just said. So as the zoning sits right now, somebody could come back in and rebuild the hotel exactly as it was.
I understand that.
And that would be preferable to you to an apartment building?
I don't know that it would be preferable, Mr. Villiers, but what is to me most concerning is that we have a 55-plus building going in, and we don't have a plan for anything to sustain that building beyond just a place to residence. I would love to see a business come in there, and there are many other kinds of businesses that can go in there. I'm very much not for rezoning that property.
Okay, because we are only talking about the rezoning right now. We will get into the specifics of the building at a later date.
I understand.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. John, you don't want to talk? They've already brought it up. Okay. All right. Well, that's all the speaking appearances that I have. Is there any other conversation, any other questions?
I don't want to short someone here. Do we need to give someone else an opportunity?
Is there anybody else that did want to come forward that didn't fill out a form? Okay, you want to grab them?
I'll go ahead.
Okay. While he's grabbing his form, why don't you come up then, John? I don't want to shortchange you. You're all showed up, so okay.
Yes, I do.
State your name and address, please.
John Town, T-O-W-N, 1716 Northwest 10th, 1718 Northwest 10th, 1709 Northwest 9th, and the building at 3424 Northwest Duncan.
Okay, where do you live out of all those?
1718 Northwest 10th.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Along with everybody else, I just have the concerns of the unless. And the unless was, the biggest concern is, what if we turn this into another extended stay hotel like what's there on Northwest Jefferson? That's the biggest concern. Also, does the current fire station have the ability, or we're going to have to make updates to the fire department to handle a 4-story building? Is another concern. As she was saying, the sidewalks I don't think are adequate along that whole corridor for a lot of more foot traffic from what I've seen. And that's the biggest thing I was concerned about.
Okay.
Just the what if and the time frame. Is there a possibility that they can, if the what if comes up, reappear before the zoning board, or do they give it a year and it's not 80% occupancy and they turn it into another extended stay hotel like what we have on Southwest Jefferson right now? which is creating a lot of problems. I'm having to put in extra security in my building because of the transients and the drug users coming through my parking lot looking for anything they can steal. And so that's the unless is that option. Do they have that option? So.
Commissioner Pacey?
I don't believe that they could put in a hotel like that if we were to change this rezoning. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
How do we know that? Because it does say
Well,
unless.
once we approve it, if it goes to multifamily, then it's changed.
But would multifamily be
It's a multifamily.
low income, no income?
No, we just approve it as a multifamily.
Okay.
It would be apartment complexes, not a
Well,
hotel.
the extended stay hotels are apartments now also, but they're under the,
It would just be multifamily. Whatever they do with it, it's zoned multifamily.
well, that's what the extended stay hotels are, is multifamily residents.
Well, they're
at this point.
hotels.
Well, but there's people living there for 15 years. That's not a hotel. So we call it what we want, but that's not a
Mr.
hotel.
Malt?
Yeah, I would just like to confirm that the hotels that are being referenced down there on Jefferson are indeed commercially zoned properties
Right.
that are for rent, long-term rent, but they still are under our hotel and motel ordinance, and so those are commercial properties. They wouldn't be allowed under a multifamily zone.
That's
But I think what he's
potato.
saying is
That's
once we
potato,
zone
potato,
this
yes.
multifamily, it's multifamily.
That's correct. Yeah, once
So-
this rezoning were to be approved, then only the residential uses that are allowed on the multifamily zone could be built, so
And then we couldn't build a hotel there if they didn't build a multifamily.
that's correct.
Okay. I just-
Unless the property were to be rezoned again.
We go back to the same.
Right.
That's still the unless, yeah, that's still the concern.
It's true.
So, I mean, that's my biggest, as residents, that's our biggest fear. We don't need any more of what's going on Southwest Jefferson. So I see it day to day.
Okay.
And I'm not necessarily against or for, I'm kind of in the middle on this. If it's done properly, I don't have a problem with it. I just don't like the unless of what could happen. You know, if it's done properly, I don't have a problem with it.
So you want the unless to be taken out and then you wouldn't have a problem?
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of residents that have that same issue, that take the unless out and then say if they don't meet that criteria, could they revisit the situation of what they're going to do with it at that point? And again, how long is the unless? A year, 6 months, 2 months? You know, what is we haven't been told that, so. Is that something that will be addressed?
I'm sorry.
Is that something that will be addressed, is the timeframe?
No, we're just here for rezoning.
Okay. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John.
I think the main thing that they're concerned about is transit population rather than resident population. And there's no way we can control that with zoning.
No. Any other comments? Okay. Did you want to speak, sir? Bring me your paper. See, I didn't forget you.
Yay.
Hey. Thank you. Okay, Frank? You want to be sworn in?
I do.
Name and address, please.
My name is Frank Henn. I reside at 428 Northwest Manor Drive. The wife and I moved here just about a couple of years ago. Wonderful city. We come up out of western Kansas. The opportunity was here for a better life, a better job. I'm superintendent for a construction company. So build, build, build. I'm okay with it. But my issue with this project would be, in the short time that we've been here, our property values have increased from $220,000 to up near $280,000. I think if you were to rezone this to a multifamily, I do not in any way foresee this to be a benefit for staying in this area any longer. I don't think the property values would in any point increase, and I feel it would only be a weakness of the general area in its entirety.
Okay.
That's my wish.
I appreciate it. Thank
Don't
you,
change
Frank.
the zoning.
I appreciate your comments, though. Okay, all right. Thank you. Did anybody have any questions? Thank you very much for your comments. I do appreciate it. Oh, okay. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Now, would the applicant like to come forward and make any final comments? Now that you've heard their comments.
I think if we hadn't put unless in there, we'd be okay. And I don't have the exact statistics before me, but regular general apartments average stay is something like 16 to 18 months, and with independent living, I think is just over 7 years. So we have a vested interest in making sure that we have tenants that are 55 and up. But again, we have to protect the long-term future of being able to completely occupy it. So the unless is by no means something that we're looking. We want responsible older adults who tend to pay their rent early and don't damage things. So just to be clear, our goal is to put a good product in for senior living.
And sort of addressing some of the amenities, and again, this is the rezoning phase. We do not have our architects' full plans and development yet, which will be heard at a later date. So once we get the final, of this will not have a pool. This is only a 2-acre plot. So comparing it to 10-acre developments, 15-acre developments of 500 units, these are not the same things. There are several of these that have kind of cropped up, come up in Independence, like kind of like 40 Highway, Eastland Senior Living Center, right behind the near Costco in that area. Yeah, it is a great example of what we're kind of trying to do. It's brand new. They're just now trying to fill it up. It's a little bit larger. It looks like it's about 5 acres, I think. So it's a great example of what we're trying to do. It's a 4-story building as well. So it's also a low amenity place designed for independent living. It is going to be professionally managed by a property management company that we haven't selected one yet, but that focuses on senior living and manages other developments like these. So they will know how to manage these facilities. It won't be he and I showing up and so we think we have a good plan down the road. It's just, right now we're just doing the rezoning rather than, we're not bringing the whole plan forward yet, just because we simply don't have it back from the architect. And there's other reasons we just haven't put this all out there yet and done the concept plan, and then future the building site and all that stuff will come out. I mean, it will. It will. And I think everybody will be very happy with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the applicant before I close the hearing?
Is it too late? I'm just curious the size of the
Well, we can't. I'm sorry. We aren't, this is just rezoning, okay? We'll get into all that if they get approved, all right? I wanted to go to council with it, so thank you. Just rezoning. But I let you stretch it just a little bit. All right, any other comments by the commissioners? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Hang on, I got to get my papers back together. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner?
before I place the motion, I would like a little bit of a discussion or a question, maybe an arcane question towards staff and probably more towards council. Is it possible to make a condition on the rezoning so that if there is no certificate of occupancy issued to the applicant, that the zoning revert back to GB?
My opinion is no, can't do that. You can always come back in and have it rezoned.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair. And I'd like to go ahead and move for the rezoning RZ 02196791 for 1501 Northwest Northridge Drive to be approved as submitted by staff.
Second.
Here, first and a second. Okay, this will be a roll call.
Planning Commissioner Casey,
No.
Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks,
Aye.
Commissioner Peel,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberg,
No.
Commissioner Haney,
No.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Veal,
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Chairman Banks.
No. Okay, the motion for public hearing rezoning has been approved. It will go on to the city council March the 4th. It'll be heard by the city council at 6 o'clock in the evening. Okay, they meet at 6 o'clock. We meet at 6:30. Okay, now we'll go on to the public hearing for Chapman Farms. And we'll hear the public hearing, amended plan, and the preliminary all at the same time. So I'll open the public hearing and ask for the city attorney to read the exhibits.
Madam Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record for the public hearing. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on February 9, 2019. 3, application with attachments. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wright.
All right, thank you, Chairman Banks. Before you this evening is a request to amend the Plan Unit Development Concept Plan for the remainder of the meadows at Chapman Farms and approve a new preliminary plat for Edgewater at Chapman Farms. The subject properties are located west of Southwest 7 Highway, both north and south of Southwest Green Meadow Drive. The north property outlined on the screen covers approximately 30.9 acres, and the south property covers approximately 7.4 acres. Both parcels are zoned SF7, which is single family with a planned unit development and a restricted overlay on it. And both properties were rezoned as part of the Chapman Farms PUD, which was first approved in 2004, with later amendments in 2007 and 2006 and 2007, which did not impact these two properties. A preliminary plat for the meadows at Chapman Farms was approved in 2005, and a final plat for the first phase was approved in 2007. Since that time, no additional development has taken place on any later phases of the meadows. The subject property is currently owned by the Blue Springs Land Bank. The applicant, Summit Homes, is proposing to develop 173 single-family lots on the subject properties, as well as 15 common open space tracts on 38.3 acres, and the development would be known as Edgewater at Chapman Farms. The PUD zoning district permits a maximum of 5 dwelling units per acre for the SF7 zoning district. The proposed development includes approximately 4.52 dwelling units per acre. The applicant is required to amend the PUD concept due to the increase in density, modifications to the underlying zoning district standards, as well as changes to the general layout of the site. The current approved density for SF7 in the overall Chapman Farms PUD is 768 units on 353 acres. Which averages to 2.18 units an acre. With the additional 56 units that are proposed on the subject properties, the average density increases to 2.33 units per acre. And you can see the calculation on the screen, which increases the overall density per acre by 7.29% for the single-family zoning districts in Chapman Farms. The applicant is also requesting some modifications to the underlying zoning district to establish minimum lot standards that deviate from the underlying SF7 zoning district, which they can request through a PUD process. The proposed standards include reducing the minimum lot size to 4,560 square feet, reducing the minimum lot width from 65 feet to 38 feet, reducing corner side setbacks from 25 feet to 15 feet, and then reducing the side setbacks from 8 feet to 6 feet. As you can see on the screen, I've highlighted in gray the areas that are changing. The front setback, rear setback, building coverage, and building height would remain the same and match other SF7 zoning districts throughout the city. The proposed subdivision layout builds off of the Meadows first plat with street extensions from the north and south as well as the west. So the numbered streets, 8th Street, 9th Street, and 10th Street would be extended both north and south from the existing Meadows, and then Willow Way would extend to the west, or sorry, to the east as part of this first phase. The proposed first phase does include the south property, which is located here, as well as a portion of kind of the central portion of the north property. That phase would also include the central amenity space, which is located at kind of in the center of the development on the north property. The second, that first phase would include 24 lots on the south property, as well as 36 lots on the north property. The lots on the south property will be larger than the properties to the north. Those lots would be 52 feet wide, whereas the lots on the north property would be 38 feet wide. To transition from the larger lots that are currently in the Meadows, the applicant is proposing 30-foot wide landscape transition buffers in between the homes on the north property. Some of these buffers will also include monument signs that will for the development. The second phase will include the eastern portions of the development, and that is also when improvements to Cowherd Road would be made. And then the final phase would be the third phase, which would be the west portion of the development. A financial guarantee is required up front for 38% of the improvement cost for Cowherd Road. That would be required to be given as a financial guarantee to the city prior to approval of the first phase of the final plat. And then the third and final phase, that Cowherd Road improvements would be installed with the second phase. The proposed development does include a little over 9 acres of open space, which covers a little over 23% of the site, which is an increase of more than 3 acres than what was required under the original PUD. There are 15 common tracks, including 1 central amenity space that will include a pool, playground, and other amenities. There will also be 2 buffers adjacent to 7 Highway, which are significantly greater in size than required. Currently, it's only a 25-foot requirement. They are proposing more than double that in that location. Additional buffers are also provided adjacent to Cowherd Road. And again, I mentioned the transition buffers located between the proposed development, the north property, and the existing homes in the first phase of the Meadows. The applicant is also requesting to remove the required 7-foot buffer, which is adjacent to the MF14 zoning on the south property line. That would be normally a 7-foot buffer. However, there's already a row of evergreens that was installed as part of the orchards at Chapman Farms, the fourplexes to the south. And the applicant is requesting to remove the required landscape buffer there and only install a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence. They have provided an example image on the plans of what that would look like. The applicant would also request to remove the buffer adjacent to commercial property that is located in the county along 7 Highway. That would impact the second development phase at the far northeast corner of the site. Rather than have a landscape buffer there adjacent to that property, they are, again, requesting to forego the dedicated common tract and just install a 6-foot privacy fence in lieu of any additional common space. And then lastly, for the buffers, the applicant is requesting to remove any fencing requirements in tracts I and B, which is adjacent to the service office zoning districts, which are at both corners of 7 Highway and Green Meadow Drive. Typically, the residential property is not responsible for installing those fencing, meeting those fencing requirements. It would be any future commercial users that would be required to install that fence. Therefore, staff does not have any concerns with removing those fences from the plan, and they do not need to show that in a future PUD final plan. Smaller lot development is supported by the centralized amenity and will include 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of all streets, with the exception of Willow Way, which will just have the 5-foot sidewalk on one side of the street, as that is connecting to an existing street where there is currently only sidewalk on one side. The general layout of the subdivision is similar in design and scale to a neo-traditional style neighborhood, which provides a housing type that is not currently available in the community outside of downtown. Conceptual front elevations have been provided for homes, including 2-story houses on smaller lots. These would be the homes that would be on the 38-foot wide lots. And then they've also provided elevations of the homes that would be built on the 52-foot wide lots, which include a mix of single-story, 2-story, as well as split-level homes. Building materials are primarily lap siding and batten board, which creates a modern farmhouse design. Although staff is supportive of the overall development, staff does recommend enhancements to the housing elevations, including added transparency at street level, whether that be on garage doors or front doors, as well as masonry on the first floor, particularly around the garage to add some additional building materials. And then other additional design elements such as shutters, dormers, and greater variations in building materials. Staff does believe that these enhancements would create added visual interest to each house, as well as enhance the overall neighborhood streetscape, increasing the long-term viability of the neighborhood. The proposed minimum livable floor area of the subdivision would be 1,300 square feet, which matches the Meadows first plat. Building elevations for houses, as well as more detail on proposed amenities, landscaping, buffering, monument signage will all be reviewed in greater detail through the PUD final plan. The applicant has also submitted some conceptual plans for both the central amenity site, which would include, again, a swimming pool, playground, and other amenities on the site, as well as some conceptual drawings of the monument sign. And again, these would both be reviewed in greater detail as part of the PUD final plan and may change between now and then. Staff does believe the proposed development does represent an improvement over what could be accomplished through the strict application of the underlying base zoning district standards and better implements the goals and objectives of the city's comprehensive plan and other planning documents in place, including the S1 area plan. The proposed PUD concept plan allows for the development of a smaller lot, single-family neighborhood with a complete street and sidewalk network with a centralized amenity. The traditional architectural style and house sizes are comparable to the Meadows at Chapman Farms, ensuring that the development blends well with the surrounding area. The proposed development provides a unique housing product, which is supported by the comprehensive plan and the S1 area plan, which does cover the Chapman Farms area. One of the place's goals of the comprehensive plan is to integrate housing choices into neighborhoods and corridors, which does include small lot detached houses, which are generally between 35 and 45 feet wide. There were previously 3 developments that included small lot detached houses that were approved in the Chapman Farms area, which included a neo-traditional single-family development in Chapman Farms that was removed in 2007 to accommodate a larger commercial development, which would have been located south of Mason School Road and east of 7 Highway. There were also 2 larger scale developments that were approved but stalled and expired due to the recession. Those developments included the Village at Chapman Farms, which was located at the southeast corner of 7 and Wyatt, and Chapman Woods Village at the northwest corner of 7 and Wyatt. Both of those developments included a mix of uses and housing options, including small lot detached homes. The recently completed Community Housing Assessment Team, or CHAT report, also referenced the changing housing market demands and preferences, including increasing demand for smaller lot single-family houses that are affordable to young families. Staff does support the proposed development due to the overall neighborhood design. Again, with the central amenity space, increased open space, complete pedestrian network, traditional architectural design, and proximity to 7 Highway and access to future commercial areas. Staff does recommend approval of the PUD concept plan with 12 conditions and approval of the preliminary plat with 18 conditions. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for staff? I do have a, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is kind of more just a general question for staff, but if this is something that's maybe going to be more of a trend, should we be looking at maybe having a separate zoning district for these smaller homes, or so that we don't have to keep coming with these variances from the traditional single family? Is that something we've considered?
So we actually, in the 2015 Unified Development Code, there's 2 zoning districts that actually accommodate this type of development. There's a neighborhood limited and a neighborhood open zoning district. We've not received any request to change zoning to those districts yet, but that's certainly something when we see those developments come forward that we would recommend applicants take a look at. In this situation, because it's part of a PUD that's already developed, we would not recommend changing the zoning from what's already in place. So they would just amend the PUD. But if this was a development that was on a previously nothing had been approved on a property, we would probably recommend going in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for staff? Okay. Jackie, Commissioner?
I'm very concerned with the lot size.
Okay.
I think that there are subdivisions in Independence that have degraded since they were originally built. And the majority of those have a similar streetscape. And I think that you can only compress families into such a tight spot. I know that there's been a lot of development in Blue Springs previously for homes that are between 1,000 and 1,200 square feet, which is what this looks like it is. But they have larger lots. And so there's more space for a trampoline for the kids in the back or whatever. I'm very concerned about the narrowness of those lots.
Okay. And I'll clarify that the minimum house size is 1,300 square feet, and I think the applicant can provide a little bit more detail on the home sizes. We also think with the sidewalks on both sides of the street and the centralized amenity, and there's quite a few common green spaces within the subdivision, and really in front of some of the homes that provides additional recreational space. But the homes a lot of the lots are still the standard depth of a lot. So a lot of them are 120. Some of them are down in this area are actually 160 feet wide, 160 feet deep. So they are still deep enough to accommodate outdoor recreation in the backyards.
Can I ask you a question? I guess with these houses being so close and the driveway right across from each other, I guess the fire department, everybody's checked it all out. I mean, like, people are going to park on the street. Are we going to make it to where parking's only on one side, or because there's no place but those 2 spots?
Yeah. Well, the right-of-way width will still be the same width as any other single-family subdivision. So if in any other subdivision, you may have parking on both sides of the street. In some places, the applicant has, particularly around the amenity, they have provided some dedicated on-site or on-street parallel parking that they'll be maintaining, and that'll push that a little bit further out of the right-of-way, for at least in that area where it may be a little bit more congested during peak times when summer, when the pool is busy. But in terms of limiting parking on one side of the street, that is not something that has been looked at for this development, as it's not any different in terms of the right-of-way width from any other street in the city.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? I'll get to the applicant. Okay, the applicant like to come forward? Thank you very much, Matt. Mr. Wright. And you'll need to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
And before we get, maybe you don't have that slide either. Okay, go ahead.
Do you have a copy of this PowerPoint that we could use a paper copy as an exhibit? If you don't have it with you, we
I'm going to send
can
it to Matt tomorrow.
us.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
then we'll mark this as applicant's PowerPoint exhibit number 9.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and City staff. My name is Vincent Walker, and I'm with Summit Homes. For those not familiar with Summit, we're a residential developer and home builder with homes in roughly 20 different communities throughout the Kansas City metro area, including 2 in Blue Springs. The majority of those are our own exclusive communities, and many of those we've developed as well. I'd like to introduce our team here tonight. Sitting in the back of the room, we have John Erpelding and Associate Chris from Olson Associates, and we have Kyle Jones, who's one of our development managers. As Mr. Wright has introduced, we're here tonight to request your consideration and approval of our newest project in Blue Springs, Edgewater at Chapman Farms. This community will contain 173 single-family homes. As noted on the slide, 50% of these homes will back up to green space, enhancing the appearance of the rear yards. The Edgewater community will be governed by a new and independent homes association to adhere to the community restrictions. We're excited by this project because it showcases our newest home designs, the Gowrie Collection. This slide depicts a streetscape with the various elevations. We've had many conversations with city staff, city officials, council members, and participated in the Community Housing Assessment Team study that I believe was recently presented to City Council. We agree with the results and the need for more efficient land use and homes that are more affordable and designed to meet the needs of today's unique household mixes. With land planning as proposed and architecture designed specifically for this development, we believe this project will help fill a void that exists in the single-family new construction housing market. As many of you are aware, rising construction and land prices have rapidly escalated over the past few years, putting new construction, entry-level homes out of the reach for many consumers. Families, many like ours, are often locked out of owning a new home in all its conveniences, such as low maintenance, energy efficiency, open, efficient floor plans, and modern everyday features. In Blue Springs, the average existing home sales price in the last 18 months is $277,000. The average single-family new construction price is approximately $320,000. As this slide demonstrates, single-family new construction is virtually non-existent at the $225,000 to $275,000 price range. This leaves the workforce housing market, or middle-income families, to solely rely on existing, aging resale housing stock. But there's simply not enough existing homes to meet this demand. This, in turn, unnecessarily drives up the prices even more. Currently, there's less than a 1-month supply of single-family resale inventory priced in the $225,000 to $275,000 range in Blue Springs, while a healthy housing supply should be between 3 and 4 months, according to real estate professionals. Briefly, I'd like to define the term workforce housing and what it means to us and who it encompasses. Simply put, it's housing for the great American middle class. It's housing for our children who graduate college and come home to Blue Springs to start a family. It's housing for workers with moderate to middle incomes, many who serve our community with pride, including police officers, teachers, firefighters, healthcare workers, municipal workers, tradespeople, manufacturing and service industry employees, all with a desire and sometimes a mandate to live in this city they serve near their workplace. Many of these people represent the future of Blue Springs, both business owners and community leaders. As this slide shows, this group represents 50% of the workforce in Blue Springs. Given the lack of single-family new construction that can serve the buying needs of these sectors, many simply can't find housing for ownership. As we all know, it's that very ownership that is considered the American dream. It roots people in our city, encourages pride of ownership, and fosters safer communities. As Blue Springs continues to grow, so will the demand for additional workforce housing. This segment of the market cannot be supplied by existing, aging housing in the multifamily market only. Other factors that have driven Summit's community design and architecture for this project is the evolving non-traditional family structure in the millennial age group. We've seen a shift away from demand for oversized lots requiring more maintenance among this group and a move towards connecting and building relationships with neighbors in tighter-knit community structures featuring outdoor spaces and more amenities. This fact is demonstrated by the booming apartment housing market that caters to these groups through their community designs. The millennial sector will be the largest buying group over the next decade, and they appear to value more community, social interaction, and a lock-and-leave lifestyle. We do feel that home ownership is still an important driver, but there must be new housing choices that reflect these changing preferences. Our gallery collection at Edgewater will showcase 1.5 and 2-story site-built homes, offering home buyers 3 and 4 bedroom layouts with full basements and 2-car garages. These homes will be built to the same high-quality standards of every home throughout our communities, with exteriors featuring LP smart wood siding and trim, double pane insulated glass vinyl windows, 30-year composite roofs, carrier heating and cooling systems. In addition, Edgewater homes will include wood floor, quartz solid surface countertops, Frigidaire appliances, Kohler plumbing fixtures, and Shaw flooring. Community amenities at Edgewater will include an open-air clubhouse, community pool with reef deck and children's splash area, a hammock garden, playground area, covered picnic shelter, a 2-acre pond, amenity parking lot, and additional parallel parking spots bordering the amenity site. To wrap up, I'd like to reference the chat study and a specific new direction or recommendation that was made. Through the Development Roundtable, create flexibility in small lot or high density single family development without necessarily requiring all of the specific requirements of T&Ds. The overarching principles of T&D, civic life, walkability, connectedness, scale, can be accomplished in other ways. There are many approaches to great environments. Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It is our intent to fill the void that exists in the affordably priced, single-family new construction market for middle-income families. We request this Commission's support to make it a reality. I thank the city staff for their time in meetings to find common solutions to the challenges of this project. We are proud to be able to offer a home and community that will be affordable to the buying groups mentioned, while providing first-class amenities and numerous green spaces. Commissioners, thank you for your time and consideration. Open it up for questions.
Are there questions for the applicant? Together. not. Thank you. Okay. Keeping with the, I have someone that would like to speak, I gather, in favor. John? Oh, you work for him? Okay.
Yeah, I represent the applicant, so I'm definitely in favor of. I'm just here to help with any questions. So.
Well, go ahead and get sworn in.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Now your name and address on the record?
John Erpelding with Olson, 1301 Burlington, North Kansas City, Missouri, 64116. Just happy to assist Vince and answer any questions you guys may have.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
And you work for them, or?
I'm sorry, Olson, we're the engineers and land planners
Okay,
representing
thank you. I
Summit
missed
Homes.
that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for you? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Okay. Hearing none. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Phillips?
I just want to make a comment and a request to the applicant as they go forward with this, because we're not actually we're seeing lots on here, but we're not seeing where exactly the houses are going to be on the lots, like we see sometimes. And we're seeing that streetscape that they provided for us. And I'm just requesting to them that, A, we look for more than just 4 designs. We look for as many varied facades as we can get on something where they're this close together. B, that we look at maybe staggering them a little bit so they're not all lined up straight in a row. They all have exactly a 20-foot driveway, and they all, do that. And some of these need to be reversed, so it's not door garage, door garage, door garage, door garage. So if you incorporate that into the layout when you get to the actual houses, I think that would be a little more appealing than what I'm seeing here with where most of what we're seeing is just a garage door. So anything you can do to minimize that appearance of just a garage door with a little door stuck back on the side would be greatly appreciated.
These are close together.
Well, they are close together, but I will say they do have full-size lots in depth, and there have been a lot of things built recently where they did not have full-size depth lots. And I go out on the Parkway and I see some of these lots where you have maybe 20 feet between the road and the back wall of their house, and that just, there's no yard there. I mean, there's no backyard. I'm not as concerned about a side yard as I am about a backyard.
But the new millennial study came out. Theirs was 2017. The 2018 says that they want smaller yards, and that's 124 feet deep.
So I'd rather have a backyard than a side yard. So
yeah. Well, I am very. I have to comment. I am close to my neighbor. I can raise the blind and read their lips. That's too close. Now, if I was this close, I could probably hear their kids talk. So I don't know. I just maybe it's a new thing.
It is that new urban design.
Yeah, maybe it is.
And that's just.
I didn't want to live with them though.
And I do question a starter home at $225,000, but that's just the reality of this of the times. But.
Okay. Is there any other? Yes, Commissioner Fairbanks.
To me, there would be no issue with a more shallow backyard if I could have a wider yard. And I think that with the acreage that is under construction here, in consideration, 38 acres, they should be able to come back with a plat that is wider lots, maybe not quite so deep, because if you take a lot that's 160 feet deep, you could lock 60 feet off of that and put another row of street in there and have more square lots where you've got more. I mean, 6 feet between the houses is not enough. In my mind, it's not enough.
A quick question. She's saying 6 feet in between, but isn't there a minimum of 15 feet or something like that when you're building new construction? There is a certain...
There's 8 feet.
There's a certain
They've
footage that you
modified
must
that.
have.
They've requested to modify that.
Yeah, they're only asking
On
for
that
6
chart.
feet.
And they're only asking for 15 feet on a corner lot.
Yeah.
And that's not enough.
But I thought 15 feet was the minimum requirement.
Yeah, they would be, if they have the 2 6-foot side setbacks, would be a 12-foot building separation.
6 foot sides on 6 foot from the building footprint.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for example, the new homes that are being built in downtown, if you go out on Walnut or 9th Street, those have 10-foot separation. So we have approved building setbacks at a lesser side yard than that.
But you're saying 12 feet.
Yeah, 12 feet from building wall to building wall.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to ask staff if there were any opposition letters that were received.
No. There were 2 letters that were returned, though.
Yeah, the 185 foot?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are any other, yeah.
I'd like to see more emphasis put on the right-of-way parking, the areas on the streets, because you see so many times emergency vehicles and school buses trying to get down the road, snow plows, and when you're parked on both sides of the street, it's a pain just to get down the street sometimes.
I watched that during all of our snow. Our snow plows had a heck of a time getting between cars. So that's the only reason, because there's not a lot of places. You have, I don't know, I guess there's not a lot of curb, I don't know what, a lot of parking along the street because there's so many houses so close together. I looked at the plat, and I don't know where people would, I guess, park in between every house.
And I might
Go ahead.
let the city engineer answer
Okay,
how
go
they
ahead.
determine if there's a parking issue and how they determine if they close off one side of the street to parking.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have any comment on that. I mean, it's a standard residential street, so I mean, and it's usually built for parking on both sides. So any variation would be you guys approving that. But I mean, from our standpoint, we're satisfied it's a residential street on that.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to address that question in that I would like to point out that these are 2-car garages, 25-foot setbacks on the driveway, which allows additional parking in the driveways. So somewhat, you're the potential of 4 cars in a driveway. So we don't necessarily feel that this is going to throw cars on the street anymore. I mean, obviously, because you can't double stack a car in the driveway, there's always that opportunity. But we've looked at other projects around the country, and I could show you literally a streetscape that we took of a project in St. Louis in the middle of the day because we wanted to see how the parking was. We didn't find one additional vehicle on the street that was any more uncommon than a typical subdivision. Now, if somebody decides to have a party or if somebody decides to have a get-together, then like probably all of us, that live in areas, it backs up. There's no doubt that this can happen as well. But we don't feel that this is any more advantageous to do that than a typical subdivision. So,
thank you. Anything else? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
just like to point out that one of the staff's concerns with this, and I think it goes to Commissioner Billups' request, and I don't know if it's a formal recommendation of a condition or not, is as you see in that picture there, with a 38-foot wide lot and a 20-foot wide driveway, that generally leaves about 18 feet left
Yeah.
of grass, which is, and depending on how the garage and the driveway leading to those garages lay out in a subdivision, you may only be able to park one car in front of the house, maybe, because I think we do have parking space. You can't park within a certain number of feet of a driveway, I believe, under provisions in the city code. So following Commissioner Billups' request, if you were to, have two garages right next to each other, you would have very little ability to park a car in between those. However, if you had the two front doors facing each other, you would probably have more of a, or on the same side, you'd have more of ability to park cars there. So the alternating would allow for more on-street parking, but that was one of staff's concern, was the fact that you can't park a car on the street in front of your driveway.
You're going to be able to park a car on the driveway?
You can't park on street parallel with the street and have the back end of your truck hanging out over the driveway. And
what about over the sidewalk?
No, not over the sidewalk either.
I know.
So
some of these pickup trucks are pretty long, so.
So they're from staff's perspective, there probably won't be a lot of on-street parking in the development, just because there's not enough room for it, which is why we worked with the developer to have hopefully incorporate some other parking areas like they did up near the clubhouse with that on-street parking kind of bay that they provided.
I did mean to ask the applicant, are these all going to be, the garages all on the same side of the house? Or are you going to mix it up? Or is it just going to be where I look down and it's all going to be, are you going to have them all the same color?
No, and unfortunately,
They're all the same color here.
the screen doesn't really show it. There'll be, it's a typical area. We're not going to set a solid color palette of every fourth house or fifth house. This is what the color is. So it'll be up to the buyers that buy in here as well. In terms of the garages, typically the topography of the subdivision dictates which side the garage goes on. This project is relatively flat, but once the grading plan is completed, there may be some changes in elevation so that the garages going up a slight rise may all be on the right side. But where we have the flexibility to change it, we will. So, we want to keep it as non-uniform as possible as well.
Unique.
Okay. Any other? Oh, I'm sorry.
If I may, I'd like to also add something else regarding the parking. There are some other areas on this plan, I think, that could accommodate parking. I just want to point out there are some areas, like here's an example where you have side yards on the street. There's a couple of them there. You have this block here, side yards there where you have more on-street parking. Side yards in these two lots here with on-street parking without any driveways, so it just provides more room. And then you have, a space here. They're really kind of scattered, really. If you look at it, they're scattered throughout the development where you have more opportunities for parking on the street where there wouldn't be driveways. Over here in the south pod, you have some side yards here, but also this entire street here on the other side where you wouldn't have any driveways. So I think there are probably ample opportunities to provide this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion. Now we'll vote on them separately. So first one will be for the public hearing, amended planned unit concept plan.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve public hearing amended plat unit development concept plan, Edgewater Chapman Farms with the 12 conditions.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Casey. Roll call, please.
Planning Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks?
No.
Commissioner Peel?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry?
Aye.
Commissioner Haney?
Aye.
Commissioner Billups?
Aye.
Commissioner Veal?
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Casey?
Aye.
Chairman Banks?
No. Motion carried. Okay, that will be heard at the City Council on March the 4th at 6 o'clock. All right, now I'd entertain a motion for the preliminary plat of Edgewood of Chapman Farms.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Well, I'm a master order sign plan. I'll make a motion to approve number ASP 021967.
No, we're
I'm reading the wrong one, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm way off here. PP 02196793, preliminary plat, Edgewater, Chapman Farms.
Okay, with there's 18 conditions.
With the 18 conditions, yes.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Casey seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
No, there's 2. Okay. And motion carried as well, the preliminary plat with the 18 conditions. All right. Is there any other business?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I know it's late, but
That's all right.
I haven't done a downtown
I know you haven't.
announcement
Go
for a
right
while.
ahead. We're here still.
I'd like to remind everybody that the annual Piccadilly Ladies Gala is on March 22nd at 6 p.m. at the Adams Point Conference Center, and tickets are still available, and the theme this year is Back to Woodstock, so everyone can dress up and have a good time. And there will be a live band, part of which consists of our city administrator and his group.
Okay. Well,
So it
that's
should be
cool.
very entertaining. Tickets are available at the website, downtownbluesprings.com.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Yes, sir?
Yes, as we look forward to our next meeting, which is March 11th, we currently do not have any applications moving forward for that meeting. We will find out at the end of the week, but what we'd like to do is take that opportunity or take that time to do a little planning commissioner training. I know each year we do our liability training for all our boards and commissions, but I think since we've got some new members, as well as, I don't know I've been here all of 8 months, so I really don't know the long-term history of training for the group. But it's likely been a while since anyone's come in and kind of done a presentation on processes and procedures and review criteria and whatnot. So we'd really like to spend some time that evening really just sort of going through the basics just for the sake of refreshing and bringing it up, because as the director, I really don't know the last time we've done that. So we're looking forward to that, and we're excited about it.
That's good. Okay. So still be here, even though there may not be anything on the agenda, but you will be. So we will still show up. All right? Mr. Stanton? Yes. We have a new
Oh, yeah.
to the staff.
Yeah,
If
we'd
you'll
like
come
to introduce
forward.
Brad Stanton as our new associate planner. He's been with us since early to mid-December, so he is finishing up his master's degree at KU right now, and has a pretty good background in current planning and long-range planning, and comes to us from the city of Parkville, where he was for a number of months, and so we're excited to have him on board.
Boy, and I jumped you right to the front of the pack tonight, didn't I?
And he handled it very well.
Good job, good job. Way to be flexible. Okay, anything else? All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, I heard it over there first. Who was it? Okay, and then I heard second.
Second.
Okay, got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, no. Okay, thank you. Good night, guys.